here. Can we get started, please?
Yes.
All right, so welcome to the slave house on Goree Island. Witness of such humiliation, towards the black people. This actual slave house was built in 1776 by the Dutch. It was the last slavery ever dated on the island because the first slave houses were built in 1536 by the Portuguese. The Portuguese being the first Europeans to ever set foot on this island in 1444. And Goree used to be the most important transit center in West Africa. Only in the slave house, we used to have between 150 to 200 slaves, men, women, and children, but completely separated. And in order to be shipped out to the Americas, it was up to the traders. The father could be sent to Louisiana in the United States, the mother to Brazil or Cuba, the child whether Haiti or the Caribbean. So it was complete separation. They left this island under registered numbers, never with their own African names. And once in the plantations in America, then they would wear their master's names. That's the reason why in the US, you have some African Americans with British name, Brazil, Portuguese, Haiti, anti-French, whether a French first name or family name, and Cuba, Spanish name. So those are borrowed names, but not really their own African authentic ones. On both sides, you have this cell reserved for men. We have between 15 to 20 inside. They were sitting on the floor, backs against the wall, shackles around their ankles and around their necks. They were only released once a day in order to satisfy their needs outside. And the slaves were living in such bad health conditions so that the first plague epidemic that devastated the entire island left this house in 1779. With your permission, please follow me so that we can do, quickly those different cells. These cells reserved for men were 2.60 square meters big, 15 to 20 for 3 months. Followed by the children.
Infants, that means
The infants mean children. Just follow me, please, because I will give you 5 minutes to run and take your pictures. This way we won't have any interruption. Please. This was a type of cell reserved for infants or children. They didn't give a number. It's a teeny tiny gallery leading you from the main entrance all the way down to the bottom. They were lying on the floor as if they were sardines in cans. And the value of a man was up to his weight, and the minimum weight was fixed at 60 kg. The value of a young girl was up to her breast and her virginity. And the value of a child was up to his teeth because of the lack of registration. Coming to the girls, their value was up to their breasts, because once their breasts were firm, they could consider them as virgins. This was an African ancient custom that they borrowed to better sell their human merchandises. And for all the slaves, they had their bathroom outside on the dock, except those young girls who had this rectangle you have here, used to be their own bathroom. And what happened was some of the European traders used to have sex with the girls, because every single house you can see today on the edge of the island used to be a slave house. This is just a sample. So some of the European traders used to have sex with the girls. Once they noticed that they were pregnant, whether they were released in Saint Louis, northern Senegal, or on the island. In 1815, during the Vienna Conference in Austria, When Goree and Saint Louis were given back to France, those mulattoes from a white father and a black mother were granted the French citizenship. So it was a great deal for those girls to give themselves to the traders in order to be free. If I had my sister at that time, I would advise her to do so in order to be quiet. Here, we had the temporarily unfit. Why temporarily unfit? Because the value of a man was 60 kg. So less than 60 kg, that's where they would stock them, fatten them with black eyed peas and palm oil until they reached 60 kg. Within 3 months, if they could not reach 60 kg, so they were auctioned and sold locally and served as domestics. Under these stairways, we had the rebels, the recalcitrants. Formerly, we had a door hewed out of iron bars, which could allow them to breathe a little. Days they had to stay in those small holes were up to their mistakes. Small mistakes, small punishment. Big mistake, big punishment. And sometimes what they would do, they even don't mind how many would be in, but their concern was just to be able to close the door behind them. That's why they called these les oubliettes. Once a year you hear, they might even forget you. This is a copy of the same one, with the only difference that the 2 windows here were dug late after the abolishment of slavery by France, so late after 1848. But remember that France, under its revolution in 1789, did abolish slavery in its colony. But Napoleon's wife, named Josephine de Beauharnais, being a Creole from Martinique, the slaveholder, as well as the plantation owner, he was the one who heard her husband to start again in slavery trade. But he was not lucky at all, since we knew that in 1809, he was divorced by Napoleon on behalf of our people. The slave house being built by the ocean, maybe it's a reaction from the ocean. As clothing, those poor slaves only had a piece of fabric around their waist. Many of them did die because of pneumonia or other sicknesses. The biggest problem on the island used to be the water problem, lack of water. They used to hold water in containers that they were distributing to the slaves to the drop. And in that water were dying rats, mice, and other parasites. Here we had the women's cell. They were treated exactly the same way men were. Shackles around their ankles and around their arms. They had, unfortunately, their own guards, corrupted, more rude against their own sisters. Without a buyer, there won't be any seller, and vice versa. So if you went through all this, it's because of a certain collaboration of traditional chiefs who were corrupted by alcohol and eau de vie that was given to them by the Europeans. So in terms of trade, they would exchange with slaves. That's the reason why the value of a man was a gun or a barrel of rum. You know, the young girl, virgin girl, it was the equivalent of a man weighing 60 kg. The value of a baby was just a small mirror. From this way now, leading you out to the ocean, what we're calling the doorway of no return. Why the doorway of no return? Because once the slave stepped out, then it was bye-bye Africa. On both sides of the gate were posted guards, always ready with their rifles and guns, because in every shipment, some of the slaves attempted to escape in trying to die. But those poor people could not go any further, since we knew that whether they were shot by the guards or eaten by the sharks. And why particularly those sharks? Because when they were sick or agonizing, the only thing they had to do to get rid of them was to throw them into the water. That's the reason why sharks used to be around. Today, no more sharks. You guys can go ahead and, just swim. You under our protection with a certain black magic. Human have never been English. Human have always been black. Do you know where I'm coming from? So we made a mistake when we said that it was a doorway of no return since you guys are back. So, you know, just have a look and then we're going to look at the waiting room real quick, please.
Pour pouvoir avoir plus d'hommes valides à l'arrivée, taux de mortalité 25 à 30.
Get it here, man. He took him right there. Took him across the room.
Thank you.
Mississippi, South Carolina, Georgia.
Feel like
It's taking pictures.
they like what
We're waiting
for you
Yeah, just filming. So just
here.
yeah, no,
Press.
it's doing. Don't do nothing. Just pointing. Just point.
Video.
Your video, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you take mine,
Yeah.
please, and push down?
That they left this room one by one. And the whole market was concluded between those two stairways you have in the middle of the yard, just like a horseshoe. That's where took place the last bargain in Africa. And were resting upstairs on their elbows, the European traders and the acquirers watching, the slaves being fingered as if they were animals, in order to give them an idea of how healthy they were and how much they would cost. Because each African ethnic group, some people use tribe. I don't like the word tribe. We have ethnic groups. Okay. Some, you know, European ethnic groups have their own code or their own specialization, right, as if they were horses or oxen. Yeah. And the most quoted ethnic group was the Yorubas, certain people from Western Nigeria and East Benin. Because in the plantations in America, those Yoruba were considered as people only good in terms of making babies. So exclusively for reproduction. That's why they named those Yorubas goat slave or stallion. Those Yorubas originated from Nigeria and Benin were indeed the ones who transplanted the voodoo to Haiti, Cuba, and Brazil, the voodoo being an African root. We had other slave houses, such as in Ghana, Cape Coast, you know, Alada in Benin, Ouida in Benin, who was the native land of Toussaint Louverture, who did speak about himself during the Haitian campaign. You know that he was deported by Napoleon in that infamous Zoo fort where he died in 1803. You know, upstairs, no comment. That's where the European traders used to live. Our question today is how could they live upstairs and what was going on downstairs? It's up to you to do the parallel. You see, you know, slavery lasted for 300 years here. From 1536, with the first Portuguese arrival, until 1848, date of abolishment of slavery by France. 3 centuries within which 15 to 20 million black people left Goree Island to the Americas. And why particularly this island? Because in terms of geography, Goree Island's location is closer to the Americas. 6 million of them did die because of mistreatment. And it was one of the most beautiful African race that left because you selected. Nowadays, best athletes in the world, aren't they African American or Jamaicans? You see, it's not about beating everybody. This is the perfect illustration. So whether people talk a lot about the Jewish concentration camp that we do respect as Africans, but the Jewish concentration camp did not last that long compared to what black people went through. And this is the truth. So whether those Jewish concentration camps or those Holocausts that we all survived, we have to have this slave house remain for the coming generation so that we won't have again a repetition of history. So in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, that was, you know, the history of the slave house as far as Goree Island and West Africa was concerned. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.